What's up, everyone? I'm on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I can't do it without you. If you're enjoying this, take a second and hit subscribe right now. Juan Carlos Ferrero has never been one to mince words. It's simply not in his nature. And with his recent remarks on Carlos Alcaraz, the former world number one and master coach delivered an admission that was as startlingly honest as it was profoundly uncomfortable. While lauding the spectacular game of his former prodigy, Ferrero confessed something that peels back the curtain on the harsh, complicated truth of coaching in modern tennis. It is agonizing to watch Carlos Alcaraz compete while your whole team is confined to their seats, Ferrero revealed, before quickly tacking on the expected niceties. I am incredibly pleased with Carlos Alcaraz's performance. He is playing at an exceptional level. My congratulations to him. May he continue this way. But that first statement, that is the heart of the matter. That is the raw, unfiltered sentiment most coaches would only ever dare to think. Ferrero, however, spoke it into existence, and in doing so, he gave us a rare glimpse into the soul of a top-tier coach in an age defined by once-in-a-generation superstars. Let's be perfectly clear about Ferrero's meaning here. This isn't a critique of Alcaraz. It isn't born from bitterness or resentment. What he is expressing is a profoundly human response to witnessing someone you once mentored completely dominate the sport, all while your current athletes are relegated to the sidelines watching, perhaps learning, but ultimately just watching. The truth is, Ferrero understands Alcaraz better than almost anyone alive. He was there for the crucial, formative years. He was the architect who helped forge the very game that now lays waste to opponents on every court. He witnessed the unbridled potential and painstakingly molded it into something legendary. Then, as is the brutal way of professional sports, their paths diverged. Alcaraz is now guided by Samuel Lopez, while Ferrero focuses on his academy and the next wave of talent. And this is precisely where the story takes a fascinating turn. After you have coached a phenom like Alcaraz, after being instrumental in forging something so magnificent, how does it feel to be on the outside looking in? What is it like when your present-day students can only sit and observe the player you built perform feats that border on the impossible? The candor from Ferrero is, frankly, a breath of fresh air. The vast majority of coaches would sidestep the issue. They would serve up a press release-approved statement about pride and joy and all the rest. And to be fair, Ferrero says those things, but only after leading with the disquieting truth. It is painful. It is exceptionally painful. Imagine his vantage point for a moment. You are Juan Carlos Ferrero. You have hoisted Grand Slam trophies. You have stood at the absolute pinnacle of the sport as world number one. You recognize greatness because you have embodied it. And your mission now is to guide other gifted players to that same summit. Yet everywhere you look, there is Alcaraz, making the impossible look routine, blasting winners from unimaginable angles, chasing down shots that no human should ever reach, competing with a passion and liberty that is utterly captivating. And your own players? They are grinding. They are putting in the work, but they are not him. Almost nobody is. That is what makes him a phenomenon, isn't it? But that knowledge offers little comfort when your job is to cultivate the future. There is a unique cruelty to the tennis academy system. It takes in these children, their hearts brimming with ambition and untapped promise. You pour years of your life into them, your time, your energy, your soul. You champion their cause, and then the cold, hard world intervenes. Perhaps they crack the top 100. Perhaps they have a magical week at a smaller event. Or perhaps they never truly emerge from the pack. All the while, the Alcarazes of the world are etching their names onto Grand Slam trophies and rewriting history books. There is no one to blame. This is simply the nature of elite competition. But Ferrero's candid remark pulls the curtain back on this stark reality like never before. The financial dynamics of the sport introduce yet another layer of complexity. Having a player like Alcaraz on your coaching resume elevates your entire brand. It draws aspiring champions to your academy gates. Parents see the Ferrero-Alcaraz connection and think, he could do that for my child. But this creates a monumental weight of expectation that may be entirely unfounded. Not every gifted teenager will mature into the next Carlos Alcaraz, regardless of how masterful the coaching. And nobody grasps this better than Ferrero. He has survived in this world long enough to know that developing a champion is part methodology, part artistry, and a huge part of chance. You must find the perfect athlete with the perfect mindset at the perfect moment. Even with all that, nothing is certain. Careers are derailed by injury. Confidence shatters. Some athletes simply hit a ceiling they cannot break. But when families are investing fortunes in academy tuition and see Alcaraz dominating on television, they aren't considering those countless variables. They are focused on one thing: results. And that heaps an almost unbearable pressure on coaches like Ferrero to replicate a miracle. The sports media certainly exacerbates the problem. The moment a young Spanish talent emerges, the comparisons begin. Is this the heir to Alcaraz? The boy has barely won a lower-tier tournament, and he's already being measured against a living legend. An impossible burden now falls on Ferrero, the task of managing these completely skewed expectations. What elevates this into a true drama is the timing, because Alcaraz is on a legendary, unstoppable run. We are witnessing a level of tennis not seen in an entire generation. He isn't just winning matches, he is dismantling legends and making the elite look like amateurs. And he executes this with a style that is both savagely powerful and exquisitely beautiful, which makes Ferrero's admission of it being hard to watch completely understandable. This goes far beyond Alcaraz merely playing well. He is operating on a level that serves as a brilliant, blinding reminder of what the absolute summit of performance looks like. So, if your job is to convince other players they can reach that peak, watching Alcaraz must feel like watching an entirely different species of athlete. The intertwined story of Ferrero and Alcaraz has always been a source of fascination. Their professional split in 2021 was a move that sent shockwaves through the tennis community. Alcaraz was in the middle of a meteoric rise, making many question the logic of the separation. But now, looking back, the monumental results make any argument against it seem absurd. Alcaraz has since claimed multiple Grand Slam titles and the world #1 ranking, all while Ferrero has remained a constant, unwavering pillar of support. Not once has he ever cast a shadow of doubt or implied he deserved more recognition, which makes his recent, candid remarks so utterly powerful. This confession doesn't stem from a place of envy or what-ifs. It springs from a raw, honest assessment of the extraordinary position he now occupies. Because the secret to coaching at the most elite level isn't just about mastering technique or devising brilliant tactics. It's a game of psychology. It's the art of forging belief. It's the craft of convincing athletes they can stand shoulder to shoulder with gods. And how can you possibly preach that sermon when one of your former disciples is out there demonstrating just how impossibly high heaven truly is? Put yourself in the shoes of a young hopeful at Ferrero's academy. You arrive for practice, and your mentor is the Titan himself, Juan Carlos Ferrero. An incredible privilege, no? He has stood on the very mountain you hope to climb. But then you see Alcaraz on screen, a force of nature, and your coach reveals that he was one of the architects behind that phenomenon. He helped build that. And there you stand, fighting for a foothold in the top 200, while Alcaraz adds another jewel to his crown. It's an inspiring vision of what's possible, yes, but it is also a terrifyingly high bar. For Ferrero, witnessing that psychological tightrope walk in his students must be an incredibly complex burden to bear. He is fiercely dedicated to the success of his current athletes, yet he is haunted by the knowledge of what ultimate greatness looks like, because he once held it in his hands. The comment also acts as a stunning revelation about the current pecking order in tennis. Alcaraz is no longer just a winner. He is the new standard. He represents the very blueprint for the future of the sport, leaving everyone else scrambling to keep pace. That chase includes every tier of the professional world, from those clawing for a living on the Challenger Tour to established champions desperately trying to remain in the conversation. This reality presents a singularly difficult puzzle for coaches like Ferrero. How can you fuel your players' ambitions when they are perpetually measured against a figure who seems to be playing a completely different sport? How do you guide them toward their own destiny when the path Alcaraz carved shines so much brighter? The unavoidable answer is that not everyone is destined to be Alcaraz, and that's the reality. It's the natural state of sport. There have always been headliners and the essential supporting roles. But when you were a principal architect in the rise of one of those megastars, observing their continued ascent from the gallery feels profoundly different. By any metric, Ferrero's academy is a success story, filled with gifted players climbing the ranks. But the inescapable fact is that none of them are Alcaraz. It is unlikely any of them will be that once-in-a-lifetime talent. And while that is perfectly acceptable, it doesn't make it any easier to watch your former prodigy conquer the world on the grandest of stages. An inescapable question of what if also hangs over this entire saga. Could Alcaraz have been even greater had he remained with Ferrero? Would he have achieved more, or perhaps less? These are questions with no definitive answers, but they are undoubtedly phantoms that drift through Ferrero's mind. Any mentor would be haunted by such thoughts. You invest years of your soul into a talent, sculpt their entire game, only to watch them become a global icon after they have departed. The pride in their journey is immense, certainly, but it's forever shadowed by the nagging wonder of the chapters you could have written together. To his immense credit, Ferrero seems to have found a sense of peace with his role in the story. His words are not tinged with resentment but ring with pure honesty. And in an arena where every word is meticulously calculated, that kind of vulnerability is both startling and invigorating. It is a powerful admission that it's okay to find something difficult, and it's courageous to give voice to complicated truths. That confession does nothing to diminish his pride in what Alcaraz has become or his unwavering dedication to the players he now guides. What becomes fascinating is how this one comment illuminates the human side of coaching in a way we rarely get to see. We think of coaches in simple terms, attached to a star or not. We almost never pause to consider the surreal experience of being the former Times coach of a reigning superstar. It is a strange and lonely limbo, to be forever tied to their glory but to no longer be a part of the daily narrative of their success. Juan Carlos Ferrero remains a giant of Spanish tennis, and his academy is a revered institution. His expertise is undeniable, but he will also be eternally known as one of the men who unleashed Alcaraz upon the world. It is both his greatest blessing and his heaviest curse. That connection grants him immense credibility, yet it simultaneously casts a long shadow, a comparison that likely dogs his every step. And now, consider his current players, observing from the sidelines. It's a truly powerful scene, isn't it? They aren't just observing a tennis match. They are witnessing sheer mastery. They are watching an athlete perform at the very echelon they are striving to attain. While it's certainly a lesson in skill, one has to imagine it's also profoundly disheartening at moments, especially for someone trapped in a slump or fighting a crisis of confidence. Ferrero understands this intimately. His long career has taught him the psychological burden of being constantly faced with perfection while trying to carve out your own legacy. His statement reveals he is actively strategizing how to handle that complex dynamic. How can you position Alcaraz as a beacon of inspiration without letting him become an impossible specter that demolishes their self-belief? There is a profound art to navigating this. One player might see someone like Alcaraz and think, "That's the level I'm aiming for. I will drive myself harder." Yet another might watch that same performance and conclude, "I can never achieve that." What's the use? The chasm between those two mentalities can define an entire career. As their mentor, your challenge is to foster the former while staying anchored to what is realistically attainable. This reality must also permeate the entire training atmosphere. When you are grinding through drills at the academy, everyone is aware that Alcaraz executed these same routines years ago, creating a silent, constant benchmark. Was his execution cleaner? Was his footwork quicker? These aren't constructive thoughts, but they are deeply human impulses. The profession of a tennis coach is peculiar in any case. Unlike in team sports, you're not in direct opposition with another coach. Your sole focus is on helping one athlete realize their ultimate potential. Even so, an undercurrent of rivalry persists, especially when prestige and reputation are on the line. And when a player you once mentored is out there conquering the sport, it casts a complicated light back on you. Some might interpret Ferrero's words as a form of complaint, but that's not my takeaway. I see a man being brutally honest about the emotional labyrinth he's navigating. He is bursting with pride for Alcaraz. He is devoted to his current athletes, but acknowledging the chasm between them is painful. All these conflicting truths can exist at once, and frankly, it is to his credit that he said it publicly. Tennis is desperate for more authenticity of this kind. We're conditioned to expect vapid press conference cliches and polished public images, so when a moment of genuine emotion breaks through, it truly resonates. Ferrero was under no obligation to mention how difficult it was to watch. He could have simply offered congratulations, but he chose radical honesty. That decision reveals something fundamental about his character as a person and as a guide. It also compels us to question what defines success for a coach. Is triumph measured solely by producing Grand Slam winners, or is it found in helping any player reach their personal summit, wherever that may be? Ferrero has managed both. He guided Alcaraz on his journey to immortality and is now helping others build professional careers. Both accomplishments are incredibly valuable, but when the disparity is so glaring, when you are witnessing your former phenom dominate while your current squad can only watch, feeling that weight is an utterly natural response. The tennis world will continue its relentless pace. Alcaraz will continue to triumph. Ferrero will continue to mentor. And those athletes watching from their seats will continue to labor, to grow, and to battle for their own place in a sport that offers no quarter. But Ferrero's admission will stay with me, serving as a powerful reminder that even at the zenith of professional sport, we are all just human beings attempting to manage a tapestry of tangled emotions and relationships. So yes, it is agonizing to see Carlos Alcaraz compete while your entire team watches from the stands, but such is the nature of tennis. Such is the nature of sport. That, in essence, is life. You give everything you have, you offer support where you can, and you grapple with the profoundly mixed feelings that come from watching someone you guided ascend to heights most can only imagine. And perhaps, just perhaps, one of those athletes in the stands today will be the one to astonish us all. Maybe Ferrero's current charge will be the next to shatter expectations. Maybe in a few years, we will speak of them with the same awe we now reserve for Alcaraz. Then again, maybe not. But either way, one must honor the integrity of a coach who will admit that observing greatness is difficult, even when it's a source of immense pride. Do you believe Ferrero was overly candid, or is this the kind of raw honesty tennis craves? Share your viewpoint in the comments, and let's have a conversation about whether coaches ought to keep these emotions behind closed doors or air them. And if you enjoyed this deeper look into the sport, send it to your friends who live and breathe tennis. You can be certain they'll have strong feelings on the matter.